Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review, and check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast. And now your host, Micah Chrisman.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Pray for Micah podcast, where we explore art, activism, spirituality, and our cosmic significance / insignificance. I'm here today with Cornell Gorman, a good friend and colleague, and we'll jump into introducing him here in a bit. But first, we're going to start off with our new segment we've been running called Prayers for the People. Da, 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 da.
Do you do like prayers for the people?
I need to do something. I need to actually make an intro for it,
Yeah,
like
right
a little segment. But
I didn't want to miss my cue. I didn't know if it was me or what.
Yeah, if I had my soundboard, I'd be like,
Right. There we go.
Prayers for the people.
Right. Okay, we getting there. Cool.
Today's prayer is submitted by Ed, or Edward. He writes, "Let me tell you about the time I had a grilling disaster. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon, and I wanted to impress my family with my cooking skills. So I put on my apron and grabbed a spatula, all ready for a fantastic barbecue. But things didn't quite go as planned. As I was flipping the burgers, the grease started dripping, and the flames flared up through the grate, as they do. So I reached for a spray bottle, but just then a strong gust of wind blew the corner of my apron right into the flames. Caught fire, and I panicked. In my desperation, I jumped straight into the kiddie pool nearby. My wife and kids went from being super concerned to laughing hysterically because there I was, soaking wet, feeling pretty silly. Needless to say, my grilling skills were overshadowed by my unplanned pool dive."
Yeah, I appreciate the fast thinking. When you gotta make a play. You gotta do something.
I'm just curious, how did your apron must not have been tied on very tight?
Right, all the way in the fire. Don't it gotta sit in the fire for a little bit to kind of catch? Maybe he had some grease off. I don't know, but ask him what brand, because that's a flammable.
Yeah, do not wear that one. That is
a recall.
That is a recall apron.
Yeah,
everybody, be praying for Ed and his grilling fiascos. Yes. I was telling Cornell, so this reminds me of a recent funny story that happened to me just like a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, time for a Pray for Micah story. So I just moved out of a place I was renting a house over in the Northeast neighborhood and moved in with Catholic worker farm place.
Yeah.
It's a whole other side story. But if you know Cherith Brook, if you listen to the show, you know who those folks are. So back living in with those folks. And so as I was like the last day cleaning up the house I was renting, I had put out the bags of trash. The whole place was vacuumed. Everything was spotless. And I realized I had a bunch of scrap wood and I also had some cans of gasoline that were kind of old gas.
Yeah.
And so there's a fire pit in the backyard. So I had the brilliant idea. I was like, hey, I'm going to get rid of this gasoline and I'm going to burn up the rest of this scrap wood I have. Then I don't have to worry about disposing of any of this shit.
Yeah.
And I thought this fire pit I thought this fire pit was it was it's recessed in the ground.
Yeah.
And so I thought, it's gonna be fine. I'll just burn it. I was like, I'm waiting for. I know it's gonna have the whoosh.
Yeah.
It's gonna go up.
Process here.
I'm just maybe a quick fire. Say goodbye to the place. Have a moment. You know. And so I poured all the rest of the gasoline on this scrap wood, and it does its thing, whoosh, and it's instantly, a little bit more intense than I was expecting, but everything's okay.
Okay.
Once everything really starts going, all of a sudden the flame starts spreading outside the fire pit, and I realized there was a crack in the bricks.
Oh,
just real fine. You couldn't really see it unless you're ground eye level with
and
it.
It was working its way through the crack.
And it was going towards my neighbor's yard.
Oh.
Like literally all the dead leaves. And we're talking like 5 feet of like flame spreading. I started panicking.
Was there a kiddie pool?
There was no fucking kiddie pool.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was like panicking because I realized like, what a fucking idiot. I didn't bring any water out here.
Yeah.
And I like go inside and I'm like, the water pressure's too slow. I'm not going to be able to fill up.
Dang, I was like, what happened?
I don't have buckets. So I had a case of like bottled water, like
okay,
8, 10 or so dozen bottles of water. And so I'm scrambling
with bottled water.
I'm like double.
Did that make the fire mad or did it?
Oh no. I like basically I went to the edges of like the fence before it spread in the neighbor's yard. And I'm like, just frantically screwing water bottle like lids off, and I'm like dousing the edges. I finally kind of got it back towards the fire pit. Then I started doing the foot stomping, and boy, my adrenaline was going, man. I was breathing heavy.
Hey, that's funny.
I'm like, I'm about to have a heart attack here. I'm gonna die in this backyard.
That's wild. I remember it was a story when I was younger. I was about 10 years old, and then like everybody came over to our house for the 4th of July, like to shoot off fireworks. And I don't know if you remember like those chaser firecrackers where you would light them and they would just run everywhere. We lit one and it went into our neighbor's bush. And the bush just started up in flames. So you got about 15, 20 people with a water hose and buckets of water trying to put this fire out, man. The neighbor didn't talk to us for about,
of course,
about 8 years after that. And
just side-eyeing you every time you come out of the house.
It was a beautiful house. Like they called like a landscaper every so often just to trim it up, or they would come out and they took care of their lawn. And it was just this ugly big circle in their bush. Yeah, that's wild, man.
The Lord didn't start talking to you from that bush.
No.
If he did, he would have been like, y'all are dumbasses.
You should lit that fire right. Yeah.
Lord's like, you should know better. Don't.
Yeah.
Man, the stupid things we would do with, Roman candle wars, battle, and brother's beard kind of getting singed on fire. It's like, why did we do that? Like, why did we? Oh, man. The travesty of flames. Well, remember, Smokey the Bear says only you can prevent forest fires.
That's right.
So don't be flicking your smokes out the window. Don't be shooting your fireworks in the bushes.
Man, that'll help.
Yeah. Well, Cornell, thanks for being here.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go ahead and just share a little bit with folks who don't know you, a little bit about you. So Cornell has he spearheaded remarkable increases in clientele revenue and making a positive impact everywhere he goes. He's the chief operating officer and of G.I.F.T. But first, I want to read this part. Manager at LitFitness.
Yep.
He oversaw a remarkable increase in clientele leading to a 30% revenue surge. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to establish Fit City, where he attracted over 150 clients during his first summer. Good for you, man.
Yep.
That's sick.
Yep.
He became a content creator, generating content that has reached over 4 million organic views. Let's go. In addition to this work, he also co-founded Generating Income for Tomorrow, or G.I.F.T.
Yep.
It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to community enrichment through grant funding and event management. And it's raised over $3 million in its first 3 years.
Yep.
Man.
It's crazy.
We're going to dive into that. He's also a leader in his church and inspired and empowered countless individuals to achieve their goals and reach their full potential. Cornell, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, honor. I love the stuff, man. I see your content. We had a conversation.
It hasn't reached 4 million views.
Yeah.
We're trying to get that organic reach
keep
over
it going.
here.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to hit. Just like consistent. Yeah.
That's so sick. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, Cornell's the guy, I work at Be Great Together, and we are our organization. I feel like we're like kind of like neighbor, sister organizations. Yeah. G.I.F.T. is kind of like our unofficial second office. Like our first office is coffee shops, me and Ave, but we always go to G.I.F.T. for different community events and things. We have a fundraiser, big campaign event coming up here in June. So Give Black KC.
Yep, that's exciting.
And that starts the 13th. Is that through? I know it's through Juneteenth, but I didn't know. I was trying to remember the dates.
I believe the 12th.
Yeah,
something like that. Yep.
Yeah, you guys can start giving us money all right now. You know,
If you like, the link is up.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and go to the website.
Yeah, GiveBlackKC, right?
.org. Yep.
.org website.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're gonna be working on promotions for that, some
Yep.
video recording.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
you're the guy I always am
working.
scrambling. Hey, can I borrow that tripod?
You're right. You're making it work. Absolutely.
hey, Cornell, how do you do this
Yeah,
thing?
yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like the guy.
Yeah.
He's the man who just helps solve my crises.
Yeah,
When I'm in the
man.
middle of a moment.
And it's super crazy that it took me a while to accept that. You know, I'm self-taught in a lot of stuff, and it's like, wow, I guess I do know a little something.
Right.
About something. You know what I'm saying? It's wild.
You never expect the day where you're the guy everyone comes to.
At all. Yeah.
Then now I have people who are like reaching out to me and like, hey, can I just like intern and watch how you do your podcast? And I'm like, I've only been doing this a year, and I'm like,
but if you check it out, like I'm loving the lights, the setup. I'm looking at the audio thing. I'm asking you about the camera and all of that. Yeah, this is fire.
But before you were, before it was me, it was my, friend Alex, my friend Sean. It was like these little hodgepodge of like friends. I just would like bribe them with food and like, hey, I've got this microphone. I don't know how to record it. Oh, I should use Logic. Okay. Let me watch some hours of YouTube. All right. I don't know how to do this.
Right. But I definitely think that's how it works.
That's how it works, man.
Yeah. That's how it works. Love it.
So yeah, as COO over at G.I.F.T, can you just share a little bit with folks about like the mission and what kind of inspired the inception of the nonprofit? And
Yeah, absolutely. So Kansas City Give, what we do is we give out grants to Black-owned businesses on the east side of Truce in amounts of $10,000, $25,000, and $50,000 in an attempt to reverse the impact of systemic oppression and racism in Kansas City. You can tell I kind of been saying that a lot.
Right. I was like, that's like the soundbite.
Right.
That's your KCUR voice.
Yeah. But Kansas City is hyper-segregated. It's one of 21 hyper-segregated cities in Kansas City, in the nation, with Truce being a dividing line. And that was by design and intention. And banks kind of got on board with it, and the housing industry was a part of it. And the primary reason they separated everybody was primarily based off of race, right? So we exist. We don't want to tear anything up. We're not trying to point fingers and say this or say that or just be upset about it. But this is just, it's just a fact that this thing happened, and we want to be a solution to the problem, right? And just give a group of people an opportunity. I'm one of those guys. Like you said, I worked at LitFitness. I was a trainer for a while, and one thing that I would work on is people would come in with huge biceps, and I would try to strengthen their core, their legs, because that would overall help them get stronger and have a healthier body. And I think about it in the same way. Kansas City is this amazing place, and if we not focus on just all the good things and start to focus on things where there's opportunities and places where we can get better, that means it's a better body for everybody, a better place for everybody to coexist and just have a great time in Kansas City as a whole. So that's why we exist, man. We just want to strengthen the urban core, give Black people equal opportunities, and make Kansas City a great place.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I should have mentioned you were the co-founder too.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Or were you one of the co-founders?
Yeah.
Was
So
it like,
it was three co-founders. It was me, Brandon, and Chris. Chris just kind of was in and out. He made the original post on Facebook. We got started from a Facebook post. If you're not on social media, man, you definitely need to be on social. Business owner, brand, church, nonprofit, whatever you're doing. That's just where the world is. But he made that original post on social media. Brandon saw it, and he knew nonprofit business, that space. Like we mentioned earlier, I was a content creator. So I was creating Chiefs videos, and I was getting anywhere between 10 to 100,000 views on a video. I particularly do those around football season. So I kind of figured that out, creating content. I came and said what I knew about marketing. Brandon said what he knew about nonprofits. Chris had this awesome name, G.I.F.T. And I definitely think that was ordered by God. So here we are. Heck, and lined up, man. Yep.
Yeah, I was curious because, we talk about just historically the dividing line being truce, and that being like, what what is it, J.C. Nichols, like just became the blueprint for the rest of the country and how everyone modeled after that. Do you feel like that line has like shifted more like prospect? Like I know because
it's trying.
Yeah.
It's trying. Truth is still the dividing line. But what I see is business owners is like kind of like we want to do something about racism and then they move it to Truth. Well, if we put all the businesses on Truth, that just pushes the red line back to per sale or a prospect. We really got to diversify that thing. We got to put some stores on in Indiana, on Linwood, or, here, there, all throughout the inner city, and just create
not just apartment complexes.
Exactly. Affordable housing for $1,500 a month. Whoa.
Right. Right. Yeah. I remember when I used to work for the Kansas City Health Department, my boss, Bill, he'd been working there for like 20 years when I started. And he said that was kind of like the first start of the gentrification of Troost was the actual development of the health department. And it wasn't like a consequence they anticipated. It was like, if you actually go the same like wrought iron, like
I'd
spiky
love to hear
fence.
more about that.
Yeah. They basically, he was saying like, Troost used to be like 4-lane road, like right there outside the health department. Kind of the whole stretch was a 4-lane, and a lot of prostitution, a lot of like, drugs and all the stuff that you would, think, people associate with Troost.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how, there was people who were afraid to go to work, like to like go to the health department because it was like right there on Troost. But then after so many years, then eventually, UMKC built their student housing. Well, I don't know if that came later, but because then now they've made that whole thing now the health and science university health district or whatever they call it now.
Yeah, that's interesting, man.
That's what he was saying, because then they structure wise, to make it safer, they narrowed it down to like the 2 lanes that you see with like, and so that's part of like the strategy was to like narrow the road so that there'd be less like traffic and accidents and stuff right there. But yeah, it was just interesting hearing his perspective that because they had once they were planted there and like had established themselves after like 5 or so years, other like the university and other health buildings and companies started moving in. And of course, because of that, then more housing and all the development, all that stuff. And again, like development's not bad in itself, right? It's about where does the wealth owned? Who owns that development?
Absolutely. Who we want to know in these neighborhoods and that sort of thing. Absolutely.
So G.I.F.T is trying to like, hey, let's make that development happen, but let's make sure that wealth stays in our community in the hands of Black owned businesses.
Right. Definitely. Yep. So that's part of it, creating jobs in those spaces for people. Trying to put them on a bus line as well. Some people don't have transportation, maybe even walk or ride a bike to work, making that available for them as well. It's just giving them the opportunity to pay for have a livable wage in their community, right?
Yeah. So what's been like, what would you say, like, from all the work you guys have been doing, because you said like we read $3 million over the last, like, since the 3 years you guys have been like started. Yeah. Like, what do you think the like economic impact has like come from that?
Yeah, definitely. So job creation is one thing that we are super intentional about, creating jobs. So we want to close the racial wealth gap, reduce crime, in the inner city, right? And that's through job creation. How does job create? So of course we know more money in this particular area, that closing the wealth gap, giving people jobs gives them the opportunity to pay, to make money, right? So that's helping close the wealth gap some. And then of course the business owner, they have the opportunity to make money some, but how does that impact, crime in a particular area? So I haven't always been made the wisest decisions in my life.
I may have participated in poor decisions. That's what my brother and I say. We're like, I may or may not have participated in poor decisions.
Right. So me personally, I do have like a story where I know a job has reduced crime. So I used to work for RBI Baseball on 27th Street. So they got all the baseball diamonds and stuff like that. It was just a job that I kept. I don't know, but the guy who ran it, he saw something in me. So he put me over this entire field, right? So one day everybody called in. I was with me being in charge. I had to run all these ballparks and everything like that. And I had a friend call me. He was like, "Hey man, these people they moved in right across the street. Look like they got money. I'm gonna rob them." You know what I'm saying? And he's like, "Come with me."
Sick.
And, yeah. And I was like, "I gotta work. Can you wait?" He like, "Nah, man, I'm gonna just come pick up your gun, whatever." So he goes and does this thing while I'm at work, and he goes to jail for 15 years. And had I not been at work, there's a strong possibility I would have been serving time in prison. So just that's my personal story of reducing crime. There's people we've given grants to, like Jeremiah Crow. He was an ex-felon, and he got out of jail. And you know, everybody's heard before. It's easier for felons to start a business than it is to get a 9-to-5 job. That was something that literally came out of his mouth. And I knew that, but I just thought it was crazy because it's like, okay, he has a kid, he has a girlfriend, and he's trying to provide and take care of himself. If he can't keep a job and he's not business savvy, then what is his options? He's probably going to kick in somebody's door or something. You know what I'm saying? So we had to make sure we made sure he was successful, because he also hired his friends who were also felons, and he gave them opportunities. So it's those type of impacts. So the generational wealth, closing the wealth gap, creating those jobs, reducing crime, it's happening. It's happening. We've given over $1 million, but that's still, we're dealing with a huge problem, man. Yeah. You know,
it's going to have to come from multiple sectors.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the city's got to, you know, one could argue reparations. There's so many other factors that need to play into like, hey, we've created a really fucking big problem across the country.
Let's do something about it.
And we just want like, no, you just figure it out, you know? Right. And we've just been saying that for generations. And we had an event at G.I.F.T. You guys were giving away, or you guys were doing... Oh, what was it? You were having folks. We were supposed to be kind of doing a screening that night, but it turned into we were hearing people's story, their pitches, their business pitches.
Yep.
And somebody was sharing about how the racial wealth gap is going to widen so much that like, black families won't have any like
average median income will be 0 by the year 2053.
That's what it is, and you can look that up. I think that she was saying it was not Forbes, but it was like a major. Was it Forbes?
No, not Forbes. I don't know the survey, but
I looked it up afterwards, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like, oh man, they have the research. And this is showing like
following the trends. Yeah,
the generational wealth, like what's passed down, is going to reach 0 by 2050, and it's like,
right.
How do we curb that unless we galvanize all the resources at our disposal and make folks give them the opportunity to. Build that wealth from the ground up.
Right. And so, we're just on a mission to play our part. And like you said, there's a lot of other ways that you can do it. Educate yourself, home ownership, own something. But we've chose business ownership. That's our vehicle, job creation. And we're just playing our part, man. Yeah. Yep.
And you're doing it. You've got the entrepreneurial spirit.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And congratulations. You just published your ebook.
Yes.
I was going to read the title here. Faith Walk.
Yep.
Navigating the Challenges of Faith-Based Entrepreneurship.
Yep.
So explores various pain points by faith-based entrepreneurs. So what motivated you to write the book, and what are some like the key insights you're trying to like, not to like shift too much gears, but I'm sure it all ties together with
for sure.
You know,
because how I even got started with G.I.F.T was definitely a faith walk. I quit my job in the middle of the day without telling my wife.
I bet that was a good conversation.
Ooh-wee. And I told her it was going to be fine and it was going to be okay and this thing is going to work out. And then the pandemic hit, and here she is.
Yeah. What I told you so.
yeah, like, oh my goodness. So, oh man, I ain't gonna say she was gonna leave me, but I think I was on the clock, man. So that was definitely having to hear from God and having to trust that He was telling me. I've never felt anything pressing on me that difficult, that much. It wasn't like an audible voice, but it was something stirring in my spirit to tell me that I need to go ahead and pursue this thing. And he was telling me to go learn about marketing. And my plan to my wife was I was going to go shoot videos for businesses with my cell phone. And I wasn't a videographer before this. Oh my goodness, that sounds crazy. But about 2 months into that, in the midst of a pandemic, Chris made that post. And just walking that out, Christ has kind of always been the center of everything that I wanted to do. The way that I live my life, the decisions that I want to make. I try my best not to compartmentalize my walk with Christ. So as a Christian man who really takes that serious, I know how difficult it can be. Just standing on your biblical values in your belief in Christ in a corporate setting. And in the book, we just kind of talk about that, right? Just some of the ethical dilemmas you may be faced with. Some of being authentic, being yourself, going into those resources. Some of the discriminations you may face out in these workspaces. Balancing your priorities. Understand that money isn't everything, but you are to be serving everybody. So don't forget about your children. Don't forget about your wife. Don't forget about your community. You know, even though it's already kind of lined up with the work I'm doing is lined up with the community. And there's so many other chapters in there, man. Just what you may deal with, and you may not even be able to put words to it. And it could be draining. It can be exhausting. It can be depressing almost sometimes. One, not to be able to put words to it, and then two, people not have just advice or solutions to these things. As a Christian entrepreneur, faith-based entrepreneur, I think it can help people from any whatever you subscribe to, right? And for sure. So I just wanted to put that resource out there and just give people. So as a nonprofit organization, working with business owners, it's one thing about business is just being able to see a problem and then filling in the gap. So that's kind of one thing I've been conditioned to do now. And it's like, okay, this is a problem. There's a gap. I can help with that, right? Even if I just want to give this content away for free, there's a problem, fill the gap. And that's kind of where the book comes from. That's kind of what we talk about in the book. So it's out there now on Amazon, Faith Walk. You can go ahead and check that out. You can just Google me, Cornell Gorman, in the search bar, and it'll pop up, paperback and on Kindle.
Oh, right, man.
Yeah.
So it is, how much does it cost?
$4.99 for the Kindle version, and then $9.99 for the paperback version.
Okay.
Yep.
I was worried you were saying something like, if you have to give it away free or something. I was like, wait, you didn't just release a book and give it away free. I was like, y'all better take advantage of that if that's the case. But you also should just pay him the money because the guy deserves money.
But I have a YouTube channel, for sure. I got bills. I got a wife and kids to take care of. You know what I'm saying? One going to college. They are expensive. Doggone it. We need money. But yeah, I do have a YouTube channel as well. And I try to be as generous as I possibly can on that page.
Yeah, we were talking the other day, and that's kind of, I was like, we should get him on the show and just chat about it, because we were talking about how we kind of grew up, in the, with this mindset that, money's a bad thing.
Yep.
And that we
especially
should,
the church.
Yeah, you should kind of seek the poverty,
It's weird,
kind of path that Jesus said,
like be humble, or just this humble living. It's like I still kind of feel like that. Nobody's really saying it to me directly, but it's like, I don't know if it's in my head, or like it's just like in passive communication tactics. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
something's wrong with you because you are trying to make money. And I just think in the Bible, God has made people very rich. He made people kings, right? People had wealth. People had things. But not only that, it's a resource. It's a tool that we can use to help a lot of people, right? Let's not confuse. We are still we're not in heaven, guze. We are on earth. And on earth,
things are limited. Yeah.
You need money,
Well, I think that's what Jesus was trying to say. And that's what I find, like, funny enough, like, Jesus talks more about money than he does about prayer.
Yeah.
Like, if you heard that somewhere and saw like this list of verses,
absolutely.
And it's always coming down to like the love of riches, like the story of the rich
It's
young
our
ruler.
heart, right.
And like, how can I buy my way into heaven? Basically, he's trying to
it's a heart posture. It's your heart towards it, not idolizing it. And again, faith walk, the purpose, right? With dealing with the amount of money that we deal with, I can see how a person could fall into not being integrable with money, right? How easy it could be just to get those things that I've always wanted. So yeah, you have to guard yourself against those things. And we're dealing with sinner. We're all sinners. So like people have failed before. So I understand people's mindset behind it. But everybody hasn't fallen. Everybody hasn't failed. And again, the church needs money, right? Mm-hmm. The church has to pay lights. The church has to pay staff. It needs equipment. The church needs to go out and do things, and they need money. The church survives also for donations. So, we need to help that thing grow too. Yeah.
Right. And that's like, so I grew up, my father was a pastor.
Oh, wow.
And I love my parents, and they're also, we're also the kind of people who did not try to they weren't very good fundraisers. Let me just put it that way. I love them, but for any kind of church, it takes that. And so my dad, for the longest time, didn't take a paycheck. He worked bivocationally, worked for the school district, and pastored this church for 18 years. And in many ways, I respected him for that, just for the fact that, he was just the person who, going to the highways and byways, getting, I might only have a few bucks, but he's going to help this family out at the church. He's given all he can, but then, kind of hesitant to ask people to donate for the thing that they need for the church. And it's kind of there's that weird shyness that has to go away. Like you're saying, exactly. In the Bible, folks sold all their possessions to give one each according to their needs.
Right.
It's
right.
You have to be willing to ask, to receive,
definitely.
Kind of thing.
Definitely. Absolutely. And we
I
often
love you,
say,
Dad. Sorry, if you listen to that episode, that's not a
that's
slam
super
to
cool.
you.
You know what I'm saying? I love that mindset.
I guess I just was happy that he wasn't a Joel Osteen, because I don't know how you feel about those kind of mega church people, but in my mind, if you're a pastor who needs jets to do your ministry, you're not doing really what Jesus wants you to do.
Exactly.
Your Rolls Royces,
right,
your Creflo Dollar,
right. I just oftentimes think about how much more we could do with more money, as our organization. Then I just think about the church. People come to the church with needs. People want to be fed. People are in hospitals and they can't pay their bills.
Right.
With uncute, they need very, very expensive medications. People are being put out their house. Children need to be nurtured and taken care of, and the church just can't do it. I think we're the body, and I don't think everybody is an entrepreneur. I don't think everybody is meant to make a lot of money, but I do think some people are, and we should. So again, it's the love, it's the making the idol. When God talks about it, when God was telling those people to sell their stuff, he was challenging their heart in their position. He was saying, tear down those thrones those pedestals where you put other things above me. And he was kind of want to dismantle that and tear that down and help you understand what it was. But there are people that he definitely blessed, from Jobs and the Solomons, and so yeah.
He gave them multiple wives too. That's why I'm waiting. Like, Lord, just give me my one.
Just let me have my one.
I don't even need.
I don't know, man.
I don't need a harem.
Work. Marriage is. I love my wife, and I think since I've been married, I've had the best. This is the best my life has ever been. But one of the toughest things I've ever done, and I don't know if I. Marriage and COVID was two of the toughest things I've ever had. Yeah, man, but it's a dime to myself.
Your wife would say, "Yeah, you quitting the job right before COVID."
But dealing with exactly,
you know, her biggest thing.
Exactly, marriage. I know it's difficult. Like, sorry, babe. You know what I'm saying? But
do y'all have kids?
We do. I have a daughter. She's graduating this year from high school. Okay. And a son who's just finished his sophomore year, so he'll be going into his junior year this upcoming year. So, yep.
That's awesome. Congrats to your daughter.
Yeah. So she's going to college, man, for psychology, making me proud. She just took her senior pictures and just strong, confident. She can think for herself. Has, I forgive. She's listened to me, and what more can you ask for? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
you can only hope you raised them right. Like I said, part of the reason why this show is called Pray for Micah is because my parents are still, the judges, the ruling's still out if we've raised Micah right. Like, we got to be praying for that guy. He's out here with his wild liberal views, kind of, ex-evangelical, So I'm curious, just with the, with your strong faith kind of foundation as like kind of the bedrock for the work you do. Like, do you feel like you've had those kind of, are they easy or difficult conversations with your kids? Like, as far as like spirituality and like, do they believe the same faith as you? I guess I'm just curious, like, have you ever had like that moment where you're like, we're trying to raise you to believe this kind of value system of Christianity and stuff? And
we definitely do. So, our children, aren't through our marriage. So, she had her son before we got married, and I had my daughter before we got married. So that means that they come with an additional set of parents, and they come with different views and different beliefs and different values and systems, right? And so with us sharing the child, we both are equally, we have the right to instill what we want with our children, right? So dealing with that, I think both of our children have been given the opportunity to make decisions, right? Do I lean into what this group of parents says, or do I lean into that group, right? And they kind of have the backing, whichever one they decide. So we definitely have conversations about a lot, and that's kind of where I try to leave it. I know the church has been pretty rough over the years, but I like to think that we have learned a lot, and we try to do better. So all you can do is just you live right? You be the light, and you share your perspective, and that's all you can do. So I pretty much do the same with my daughter and my son. Like, hey, this particular thing, look at it like this. This is probably why it's happening. I think it's more than just a physical thing. I believe there's a spiritual aspect to it. When that spiritual thing starts to happen, start to profess these things, read this thing, try prayer, and let's see if it turns around, and and that's how I approach it. Yeah, so they come up for sure. They do.
Right.
They definitely come up, but
They make you question if God's real or not. You know, some
Yeah, like,
kids,
God,
man,
come
they're
on,
like,
man.
Is
No,
there,
yep, and
is there even a God with a child like this?
Right,
No.
right. And we've had those conversations, and why, and is there proof? Is there documentation? Is there, So yeah, like, and I study apologetics, So why Christianity? Why Jesus? So I'm not afraid to pick up the Quran. Okay, they're talking about Jesus, and I'm not afraid to pick up that. Oh, they talk about. So Jesus is consistent, that sort of stuff. So yeah. So it's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And they'll be talking about this for another couple thousand years,
Right.
If we're around that long, we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't create our own Armageddon with nuclear war or
Right.
AI systems when the robots take over. And the
That's
robots
the wave. They talking about it.
robots are like, I am God now.
Right.
Bow to me, humans.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the stars?
It's a very real possibility. I heard the guy who runs it, the CEO of OpenAI, sat down with I think the Senate or maybe Joe Biden, and he said I want regulations on this thing. So yeah.
I think it's going to be necessary. Like we were talking about, we're both in that creative world where all this stuff's going to eventually be quickly automated. And that, to me, it's the growth. It's the exponential growth is the scary part of it. It's like in college, that's what all our professors are like, go digital. Print is dying. Like go to like mass media, and like they're just driving all of us, right in, marketing is going to be digital, right into the arena where AI is just going to write the articles, make the videos.
All of it.
Just walk in and I have to build a website for a client today. Make me a website. Just like Chad, make me a website.
Yeah.
That's video driven.
It's crazy.
Give me some young millennials in a coffee shop pictures.
Right. And it will do it. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. How do you feel from like going from like shooting with a cell phone? Cause that's again, like that's kind of cool. Like that's what I did, got like a gimbal for my phone and like, that's what's, technology's come a long way. So now our iPhones like are shooting these really crisp 4K little videos. So like, how do you feel like just being able to utilize these tools in the time we can to maximize our mission? And
I don't really like to push people into if you're comfortable with it. There's an opportunity definitely to capitalize on this thing.
Oh, for sure.
But I also think you can still be highly effective without a lot of stuff, right? So I'm no longer shooting with that cell phone anymore. Like we have pretty high dollar cameras now, and that's pretty expensive. But I'm realizing how if you want to be effective, money wise or purpose wise, you can still be very effective with a cell phone. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, you don't need much just to drive. You know what I'm saying? To go ahead and do it. Yeah, but AI is definitely here. I definitely think you can use that, leverage it to help you build out ebooks or, do damage with the world. So, I think, because I'm a biblical guy, I think there will always be sin and people will always misuse stuff. So that we can't stop creating stuff because people will misuse it. Like I take a butter knife and I use it as a screwdriver. You know what I mean? And like, it wasn't created for that.
Take that robot.
Right. Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
No. They'll look at that butter knife and be like, no, that's for butter. My reference point is butter.
Right. Yeah.
No, I hear what you're saying. Like, it's kind of like Einstein, he said his biggest regret was helping develop, the Manhattan Project, helping do building a nuclear weapon. But he knew that if they didn't do it, the U.S., if he didn't help all the other scientists, then the Germans were going to get that technology first.
Right. And who knows what they would.
Right. And so at the end of the day, it's like this weird, like, like we are probably creating our own world where we're just going to hold each other hostage with all this, like, potentially weaponized, technology. And
but we're here.
I'd like to see us like evolve to that next stage. They talk about the Great Barrier in space with like theoretically, if there's all these trillions and trillions of galaxies and other solar systems and stuff,
Definitely. Yeah.
Where are the aliens? Where are they?
Yeah.
The thought is, well, they either haven't gotten to the place where their technology can be visible or like seen, like they're kind of basically invisible to us because they haven't gotten to that point yet, or they developed before we got to that ability to visually see.
I have those thoughts too, man. Yeah.
And they self-destructed basically, the Great Barrier. And so that's like where the human race is at. Like if we don't have a revolution of the heart and people and racial reconciliation, I really do think that I also am kind of a doomsday. So you have a very positive outlook, and I need that energy today because I also grew up in that like, oh, the apocalypse is probably coming, and I'll be getting in line, and they'll be like, take the mark of the beast.
Right. I gotta eat.
It's gonna be a robot telling me like, get this code scanned in your butt, or you can't buy or sell or anything. So I've tried to take that positive outlook with you that like, hey, maybe we can as a species evolve to that next stage where like, oh man, like we decided to, lay down our nuclear weapons and we just used fission energy. I don't solve global warming. Live in harmony.
That's pretty if that happens. You know what I'm saying? But who knows, right? You know what I mean? Who knows? But there is an opportunity for people that will capitalize for sure.
And in the meantime, make money.
make money, or help people. You know what I'm saying? So there's
make money to help people.
Right? Exactly.
Going back to that idea, just like the same kind of thing. Where like there was almost like, again, in the Christian worldview that I grew up in, anyways, it was very much like, we are nothing but kind of dirt and worms in the eyes of God, and we need to like always be repenting and always kind of like bringing our pain and lay it before the feet of Jesus, because yes, it's a good thing to like but at the end of the day, we're nothing. We're just nothing without God, kind of thing. And like you said, it kind of translated to this kind of idea that like money. Like I said, it wasn't explicitly said like we want you to make money, but also just that right amount of money.
It's weird, man.
Because if you make too much, and so I've had to kind of let go of that myself, because I don't, even in my kind of deconstructed faith, like post college, I was part of these different like community groups that were like folks basically, without taking vows of poverty, like basically decide we're gonna like help the homeless, or we're gonna like live and be in solidarity with these folks, and so it was this kind of like anti-capitalist, all this stuff. And then at some point I'm like, as I become an adult and I'm starting to like buy computers and microphones, and I'm participating in this whole thing, and I'm like feeling guilty a little bit about it. Like, oh man, like do I, should I have such nice things? Do I deserve such nice things? And I realize it's kind of this ingrained thing of like this kind of like subservient kind of mindset that I feel like it is rooted in my like church trauma of like
religion.
I don't deserve a good thing,
but not necessarily Christ. But there's even that in the Bible where there were religious leaders who knew the law and they just tried to pound like these scriptures into you, right? But their heart was far from them. And so I think it's some of that going on, right? Like I grew up in the black church, and we just had like all these just ridiculous notions and ideas just about the church, and we getting healthier on it. So not even just about money, right? I just think about my experience with the church, right? And I just know for the black community, like the pastor was not only there just to preach the word, but he was the therapist, and they were the social activists, and they were the community pantry, and they were all these things, right? And people didn't even want to go start a nonprofit like G.I.F.T because you weren't serving at the church, right? But when you get healthier on your view and you realize the pastor is supposed to be preaching the gospel, the word of God, right? And that's their job. It's okay if we go handle the social impact on people. God cared about the oppressed, you know what I'm saying? And that wasn't necessarily the pastor's job, right? We're supposed to be the church, you know what I'm saying? You go care for the people. Cornell, you see the problem. You go be the light in that space, right? I used to serve heavy in the church and just not being able to serve so much. And then early on, like that was a struggle, right? Like, dang God, I don't get to do this. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? I think it's getting healthy, emotionally. I think it's impossible to be spiritually mature and be emotionally unhealthy, right? So you got to get emotionally healthy. You got to get clear on what's really going on with you. Stop projecting childhood trauma and daddy issues and mama issues on everybody and then try to put it in like this God cloak, right? God didn't have an issue with money. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that kind of comes from a lot of other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or you low-key jealousy or I don't know, man.
Sure.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, we got to stop it. You know what I'm saying? But I think we're getting healthier as a church. We're getting emotionally healthy. We're getting better. We're understanding. That's not wrong. You know, we don't have to dress like that. They don't have to do. That's not what he meant by that, right? And let us not miss the mark like the Sadducees and Pharisees, but actually be the church. And
yeah. And I don't know, and so like in my kind of deconstruction kind of place where I'm at, I sometimes think about the stories and miracles of the Bible, and while it's okay if like folks read it and see them as actual miracles, like God happened. Sometimes I revisit stories like Jesus feeding the 5,000 and the 5 loaves and 2 fish. And
how
one could like obviously read that and see like this was a miracle, and I look at it more from like probably a more human explanation was maybe there was a power of people coming together and suddenly the food was multiplying because people were pulling out food and sharing with one another. And like I don't know, to me I have this thought of like, which is like the greater miracle, the idea that Jesus somehow was breaking bread and it was like magically like materializing, like multiplying in front of people's eyes, or was there a magic in itself of like, we have a bunch of hungry people and somehow we all shared enough to like take care of our situation. And like, to me, it's like, but I don't know. That's why I'm like, there's something beautiful about a moment where like you are, working at G.I.F.T and you guys have this thing you're trying to do you're waiting for that miracle to happen.
I think it's happened, man.
And people's money just comes, and like that check shows up in your mailbox, and
I've never been an executive. You know what I'm saying? Brandon has never been an executive. We didn't come from healthy beginnings, and we, in the midst of a pandemic, 3 years later, we've raised over 3. Who are we?
Yeah.
5,000. You talking about 5,000? Like, what? Like that's
I'm more likely to get 5 loaves and 2 fish than millions of dollars.
Here's my fish. Here's my bread. You know what I'm saying? Like we got that money on Instagram. We got that. What? In a pandemic?
Wow.
Them? Who are they? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Cornell? So I definitely think those happen. But I also, but honestly though, I think there are moments where it's not a voila type deal. There is more of a logical explanation to it that you can trace back and and really just see. Okay, that makes sense. And for me, that doesn't debunk. People think some people are in Scientology. I think science explains a lot of stuff with Christ. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And I guess my whole point was just like, whether there's a logical explanation, or maybe if I could go back in time, it really was a magic. Like
Right.
there was a magician's like sauce happening in that moment. Like at the end of the day, there's something still sacred and beautiful that, man, there was all these people hungry in the desert and they all came together and
Right.
this miracle happened.
Right.
These people were fed. Or I don't know. I just think about the times where like Jesus is going through a crowd of people and, someone's, everyone's fighting to touch him and like, like the woman with the issue,
Of blood,
blood.
yeah.
Yeah. And she like touches his garment. He stops and turns around and sees her faith and like sees like, and just how the way he had that ability to just stop and like, whether she was magically cured in that moment or there was some kind of magic happening just in the fact that he recognized her humanity, stopped to like that paraplegic or the people who lowered him in the, you know what I mean? Like, just sometimes, I don't know, it's like there's a power of people coming together that it creates an air around it of mystery. Yeah. It creates a sacredness moment of like, wow, we started this business with this, like we did the startup and like the tears and the good heartache of like people who've been dreaming for this for so long and to like have that magical moment come. Right. Like that's a miracle in itself that I can like see and recognize that like there's something divine in that. Mm-hmm. And that's
for sure.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, I need $1 million.
Cornell,
you want to help out?
I'm not God. I don't know. You got to tell you.
I mean, the way you were talking there a second ago, I thought maybe.
I just had a bit. I could just.
You got a direct line. I think.
Million. You need $1 million. That's it. Let me.
God, we've been here. We've been talking. Money's not a bad thing.
No, man.
I'm finally ready. I'm finally ready to accept my $1 million.
No.
I'd be happy just to have my student loans wiped out. Can you touch God about that?
Definitely not me, man. No, I told you he gave me direction on it. You know what I mean? But I just had to follow. I definitely think there is a humanistic element to it. And that's why I do think people should get applause and, you had to respond and stuff like that. But no, it definitely wasn't me at all. That's funny.
So do you find like that kind of weird moments of like, I mean, everyone to some extent deals with imposter syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that like, should I be here? And this and that. Yeah. And so how do you balance like just like the successes you're experiencing?
Yeah.
Just like, man, we're making it, we're doing it. And like not let like, because I feel like what happens for me anyways is when I start to go down that dark mindset of like, oh, I'm not really doing that great, or I start self-deprecating, or then I start self-sabotaging. I feel like then I start to like not leaning into like the truth of the powerful moment of like, here I am becoming, here I am doing it, and somehow I like don't, again, that feeling of I don't deserve it.
Yep, I didn't touch it in the ebook on that a whole lot, man, but it's coming soon, because I still struggle with it today, man. Again, I didn't go to school for this stuff. I didn't have a job position in this space before. This line of work, I wasn't even working in that space. I was a personal trainer. Then from personal training, I was selling health insurance, and now to be the COO of one of the bigger organizations in our city is like, who am I? How? What qualifies me? And I have to keep going back to the word. I qualified you, and that's one thing that helps me to be able to walk into rooms and not be intimidated. Is you guys don't say that I'm okay. Our pastor always says this thing: if you live for people's approval, you'll die from their rejection. So I always be secure in knowing God has put you in a place. So not going in for that for that validation from people that have been put in places. And then if you kind of watch those spaces, people lose executive jobs all the time, and then they're just nothing, man. But yeah, I definitely struggle. It's like, I don't have a degree. Are they gonna figure? I don't. I'm doing this, Mark. Y'all gonna give me that much money to do that? Y'all know I don't. Y'all know I didn't go to school. You know what I'm saying? But we do it and it works. You know, in one regard, it keeps me humble, which I think the Lord is pleased. But you do definitely need to balance, because it will stop you dead in your tracks if you allow it. So I just consistently pray, consistently try to remind myself who I am, that I am called, and I have a purpose. And so far, that belief has been pretty strong and accurate. So, yeah, you worth it, doggone it.
Yeah.
You are on track. You have value.
Absolutely.
Don't forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's one of those things, like, for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what's beautiful. Like, if we just rise to the occasion, you know, there's just moments, like you said, like we said, like, you don't think you're going to be the guy. And then all of a sudden you're the guy. You're the person that everyone's like, oh, hey, you've been doing this thing. You know?
It's
and,
like,
can I be a part? Yeah.
yeah.
And you just, like, it's one of those weird moments. Like, it's beautiful to kind of step into that and live into it. And, like, I've had to be that kind of, like, I used to just always reject, like, compliments or just.
Yep, very similar. Yep.
Yeah. And so I just have to start saying, thanks, man. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for reading this thing I put out, you know, like.
Yeah. I'm growing. Yep, I'm growing. But again, try not to make those things idle, you know, because outside of money, you know, the church saying how bad money is, I think glory and
vanity or
self-righteousness can be a thing, you know. I think somebody told me gold, gals, and glory, be mindful. So I just try to be careful.
3 G's.
Yeah, 3 G's. Yeah.
Gotta be careful. Those GGGs.
Those 3 G's will get you. Yeah.
So you got your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like, so what kind of, like, are there elements from the book that you're, like, sharing with people on there? Like,
so the primary purpose of the YouTube channel is to provide inspiration and motivation for people who are going through times, self-doubt, struggles with identity and that sort of thing, and to try to just to hear those words from somebody else will help. Your words are powerful. And I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker, not necessarily a pastor, but motivational speaker. That's kind of like the content I started with. So the power of my words, I always just try to share it, so that I kind of want to be a space for that. I'm pretty good at marketing. I've learned. So I guess it's just realizing the things that I'm good at, and then just try to be generous with those things. So marketing, motivation, and just being a Christian entrepreneur. So that's kind of like the mix that I try to go, like, here's scripture, here's principles, right? Then I try to do just spoken word of just a moment of inspiration or motivational speech. And then I give, like, real marketing strategies and tactics that I've used and that have been successful for me. So help business owners, specifically Christian or faith-based entrepreneurs that want to pursue business and take care of their family and their community, but still maintain their spiritual faith. So I got some of the book in there, and it's just some marketing stuff, and it's just this melting pot of a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to give away for free. I definitely believe generosity is a key to continue to grow as well. So I try to be as open as I can be with not just my money, but my experiences, my time, my knowledge. I don't really have a bunch of, you know, like my marketing secrets. And I just kind of watch some of the most successful people, and they're kind of that way. They're pretty generous with the stuff they got. Like, even people who aren't faith-based entrepreneurs, or that I know of, they'll give a lot of stuff away for free. Then when you buy the course, it's pretty much all the stuff they gave away for free. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's pretty much what's on the YouTube channel. Just a space for that. So yeah.
Yeah, and how many of our heroes, you know, share always the dozens of failures and this and that along the way, like, or then suddenly there was like this really big leap from like, I was doing this, and then all of a sudden this breakthrough happened, and I was like, and you have to just sometimes you're trying to position yourself.
Yep.
And so maybe that's kind of like, from what I'm gathering anyways, maybe that's like some of the tools and stuff you're trying to share with people. Like, you develop these things. Here are some tidbits. Like, here are things you can use, like tools in your toolbox
along the way.
But you have to like position yourself for whatever success you're trying to.
Yeah. And I kind of want to show my journey as well. I'm glad that you said that, like the failures. I want to be open and transparent about my failures, because I started it and I'm trying to encourage other people to take this journey to start a YouTube channel and personal brand with me, and to see it not get a lot of likes, to see it not get a lot of views, to see people not engage with it. And then in 2-3 years, me believing that it's going to, you know what I'm saying, be something great. And if it doesn't, how I deal with that. Right. So yeah, that definitely was a big piece of why I wanted to start the channel for sure. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing a bit about your journey.
Yeah,
and this,
man.
Like life
We've been
going on.
rolling.
What about the summer/year? Like, what are some like the personal projects and stuff you're working on? / what's G.I.F.T working on?
Yep. So Kansas City G.I.F.T is going to be a lot of the same. So we are now in year 4. We made it 4 freaking years, man. And so,
like, just hit 4 years.
Yeah,
like,
just hit 4 years.
Okay.
May 5th was our birthday. 3 years down. So it's no longer the birth of this organization. Now it's the growth of it, right? So we're really focused on sustainability. How do we get other sources of income outside of just donations, right? Creating assets, that sort of thing, so we can ultimately expand out into other spaces, right? Like we don't even help Kansas right now. So how do we get over to Kansas? How do we get to St. Louis? How do we get to Chicago, Detroit, and just kind of work our way out Cleveland and just hit these other spaces where I know they need help as well. So that's definitely the plan for G.I.F.T. We're really working on financial sustainability. We got a lot of plans in place that we want to implement and make work, and we just believe in God to do that work. And then for me, with the business stuff, I got a pretty solid plan. I believe in the digital space. I do. I think that's where the majority of the world spends their time. And if you want to connect with people and really help problems or even make money, that's where you need to be. So I'm doing stuff like the ebook, stuff like the YouTube channel, and just trying to create all types of value, content, and assets for people to utilize, help them grow, help them be better. And then just trying to, just residual income, kind of setting myself up for long-term success and, being able to take care of myself and my family that way, but also not trying to take on too much, man. Working with business all the time, we have ideas like that, right? So just knowing what my goal is, that's not where I'm trying to go. I can't do that business. I can't do that. I can't do that. So,
yeah, it's gotta be tough, especially at G.I.F.T, having so many people coming into your space who are like doing their startups, and they're all like, and you're literally funding or helping do the startup thing, but then they're like, hey,
yeah, I got this thing. But even like the staff, like we come up with 1,000,000,001 ideas. Hey man, you know what I'm saying? If they did this with this business, you know what? Don't worry about it. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Like, how are we going to get them on Shark Tank?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just learning that putting those boundaries in place, but like kind of focusing on, making sure I'm there with my daughter, and she's going off to college. I'm there for my son as he's in band. My wife, I want to stay married until I die, so just make sure I'm investing in that and being present and available, and outside of just money, make sure I'm there as well. So life's good, and brother, man.
Keep that money as your tool to benefit your life, exactly, benefit the community.
Right.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm gonna be waiting for that $1 million. I'm telling you, you let the Lord know.
Yeah,
I've been ready. I've been ready.
Yeah, I hope help me, Lord, to be able to just to gift people $1 million. You know what I'm saying?
Amen, brother. Well, Cornell, where can folks find you online? Go ahead and throw out your socials, website, the book.
So G.I.F.T, you can go ahead and find us at kansascitygift.org. You can donate there. You can find what we're doing. Check out our G.I.F.T grant recipients in the news. All sorts of resources is on the website. We have a Black Business Directory. So there's all sorts of stuff there. You can find me on social media at Cornell Gorman KC on Instagram, Cornell Gorman Facebook, TikTok, Faith-Based Entrepreneur. You can find that content. YouTube is primarily what I'm trying to go, faith-based entrepreneurship. So I'm available in those spaces. I have a t-shirt brand, Kansas City, My City. You can purchase shirts there to kind of support that way. Anything else? Maybe, but it's okay if I didn't get it.
Going to throw out your book title one more time?
Yeah. Faith Walk, Navigating the Challenges of Faith-Based Entrepreneurship. So you can find it on Amazon by just typing in Faith Walk or my name, Cornell Gorman, and you'll be able to find that. Yep.
Sounds good. And as always, you all know, smash that like button. Please. Make sure you subscribe. Pray for Micah Pod. If y'all don't mind, make sure you definitely write reviews. It helps push up the show and the ratings. So if you can take time, throw me a little 5-star review or a 1-star, I guess, if that's how you feel. But if you listen this far, and I have to imagine it's better than a 1-star review. So support the show.
Definitely. This is awesome, man. Like, you're just creating a space for people to have conversations. I think this is the coolest thing ever. So y'all make sure y'all go and share this and like this and subscribe and let the algorithm know that we need more of this. So thank you, Micah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah.
And until next time. Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. And check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll see you next time.
You are now re-entering the normal world.